Hi, I'm Bart Herbison, Executive Director of the Nashville Songwriters Association. And this week, the story behind the song is a Peter McCann song. But before we start, I want to thank you publicly. You know the first time I ever even heard about the Nashville Songwriters Association?
I think I was in Washington. We were doing some pro bono lobbying for the songwriter, and I went into Bob Clement's office, who was our congressman from the 5th District at that time. And he was very helpful, but of course you were there, and I think that's the first time I met you.
It's the first time I ever heard about it, and this is a true story. I thought, you know what a music geek I am. I'd had years in radio. I play terrible trumpet, but I worship the song and the songwriters. And I said, that's going to be my next job. And I was new on Capitol Hill, but a decade later, this job came open, and I want to thank you for that because I've loved every single day of this.
I've got to tell you, we're lucky to have you, the songwriters.
It could have gone either way.
Oh, yeah, it could have.
It could have gone either way. But so 1977 is a big year for you. You and a couple other people, the stars align on a song called, and it's the story behind the song this week, The Right Time of the Night. What's the story?
Well, I had written that. I was signed to ABC at the time in California, out in L.A., and it was the first song I'd been there for about a year at ABC as a staff writer, and I played the song for Jerry Teifer, who was the guy running the place, and for the first time he didn't stop me. He let me play the whole song through, and then he did something he had never done before. He said, "Play that again." So I played it again, and he goes, "Wait here," and he brought everybody from the building in who was working there and said, "Play it." And I played it, and they all cheered and went nuts. I thought it was just another song I had written along with the other stuff. But
Well, let's back up
apparently
for a
not.
minute. Before you play it that day, where'd you get the idea, and why was that song different?
I got the idea, and it's a good thing I didn't mention the bit, but I was out at the beach at Malibu, and it was one of those perfect sunsets. And I was there for the entire evening, and the sun went down, and the stars came out, and it was
Lines
just...
in the song.
Yeah, that's correct. Quarter moon walking through the Milky Way. It was just...
By the way, I keep interrupting. That is one of my favorite lines
Oh,
in
thank
any
you.
song ever. I've never heard it said that way, poetically, or quarter moon walking through the Milky Way.
But it was just a beautiful day out there. But one of the things that I didn't do, and it was totally accidental, I didn't mention the beach. I didn't mention anything like that because I think that would have regionalized it. And it was just, it could have been anywhere then, and it could have been
And I think it would have put a shelf life on that song.
true enough. So at any rate, Clive Davis, who was heading up Arista Records at the time, Jennifer Warnes, he had just signed her. They needed a single for her. He picked the song for Jennifer Warnes, and he got Jim Ed Norman to produce it. And this song was a hit. The record was a hit. And I'll say record because everybody contributes to that. The producer, the singer, the song has to be there. And they all came together. And it was Jim Ed Norman's first hit as a producer, my first hit as a writer, and Jennifer's as an artist. So it was the on-ramp for all three of us to go on and do a lot better things.
It got played on a lot of different formats of radio.
Yes, it
Pop, adult contemporary. I mean, it still does. I still hear that song all the time.
It'll be 40 years in 2017, and
Wow.
I'm rooting the song on. I want it to have that long life.
Now, a fuzzy memory here. What was it was in the movie.
Well, it was in When Harry Met Sally.
When Harry Met Sally was the
in
first
the early
one,
scene,
right.
and one of the diner scene, and it's in Dawn of the Dead, by the way.
Oh,
It
I
is,
did
yeah.
not know
and
that.
they're ragging me because they used it as mall music.
Right.
But I'm okay with that. I didn't know about that it was in there. My son told me. He was in college at the time, and he called me and he said, "Dad, you're in Dawn, man." I said, because that's what the kids were calling the movie. As a zombie movie, I watched it. It's not a bad zombie movie.
Yeah,
it's got a really
my
good cast.
sister was involved in that in Return of the Living Dead. They were shot up at Carnegie in
Yeah,
Pittsburgh,
right.
in Romero in the early days. I think on a budget of like $60K.
Yeah, but Dawn of the Dead, that's the Universal
That's the
one that
one.
they spent some money on.
Now, this song just keeps appearing. What are some people? It's touched so many lives And you have to hear stories about
Oh,
that.
I do. I've had several women come up and say they got pregnant to that song, and I said, "Well, I'm not picking up the kids' college expenses if that's what you're talking about." No, it's very romantic.
It is.
And Orrin Hatch once, you heard him introduce me once up in Washington
Senator
at the
Hatch,
event. He
right.
said he wrote "Right Time of the Night" for making love, and he wrote, "Do you want to make love or do you just want to fool around?" He said this boy had one thing on his mind. It was kind of
Well, let's end with this because great songs. We mentioned Shelf Life earlier. As we tape this, it'll be in the paper and air and video a few weeks later. You were at Vanderbilt a few days ago.
that's correct.
What happened with this song?
Well, I give a series of lectures every year at Vanderbilt, and basically the subject is me, which is kind of cool. So my career, so it's part of the music overview classes that they have there. Jim Fogelsong used to be the professor there, the late great Jim Fogelsong, and now Mike Porter is running that thing, and he asked me to come in. I've been doing it for 20 years or so, but I talked about Right Time of the Night. I use it as a central piece of what I'm talking about because it's a follow the money thing and where do the royalties come from and how do they happen, so that the kids can hear. The students, I shouldn't call them kids, the students should hear it from somebody who actually was involved in it. And towards the end of the lecture during the question and answer period, one of the kids said, "Can you sing? Will you sing it?" I got no piano there, no guitar, no nothing. But I sang a cappella the first verse and chorus for Right Time of the Night and got a standing ovation from these kids who were, and some of them knew the song. They knew the song. Which is great,
because
you know?
it's timeless.
Well, thank you very much. A new generation.
And other
awakes.
people have recorded it.
Yes, John Travolta recorded it, and Bette Midler almost.
Yeah,
Almost. But that's the one.
You still got a chance.
Actually, it was Bette Midler, John Travolta, and Clive Davis. They were kind of fighting over the song, so we kind of figured we had something. Right, me as the writer and my publisher were going, this thing is like kind of in demand, you know.
I actually have another last question. Do you remember the first time, it's two parts, you ever heard Jennifer's record?
Yes.
What did she say to you through the years about that song?
Well, the first time I heard it, okay, I got to tell you that Arista Records had given me a cassette back in the days in the cassette to play. It was before, as the record was being released. I don't think the album was even in the stores yet, but they gave me a cassette. And I kept playing it over and over in the car. I said, "This is really cool. This is the first major release I'm going to have." And I knew it was going to be the single. And I popped the cassette out, and I'm driving along all of a sudden, and then I'm hearing the song. I'm listening to the radio, and I'm hearing the song, but I didn't know I was listening to the radio, so I tried to pop the cassette out again, and it wasn't in there. And I'm going, my song is on the radio, and it was one of the biggest stations in Los Angeles, and they were just playing it, and the guys were raving about the song. The disc jockeys, here's a new one or here's a song from Jennifer Warren. Do you remember her from the Smothers Brothers show and stuff? And so that was the first time I heard it. But Jennifer, it was me who was kind of critical because she was singing it differently than I had sung it. But Dick Clark, when I did the American Bandstand with Do You Want to Make Love, he said, "I understand you didn't like Jennifer's record when it first came out." You know, there was supposed to be no tricky questions, you know, but he got me with that one. And I said, "Well, you know, she didn't sing it the way I would have sung it." But when it went to the top 40, I'm beginning to think, this is pretty good. Then it got into the 30s, and I said, you know, this is better than I thought it was. And then it got into the 20s, and I'm going, this Jennifer girl, boy, can she sing. I'm telling you. So the higher it went on the charts, the more I began to love her interpretation of it, because I really never had a song. You know, she's singing notes.
And when you cashed the check.
Yes, that's always, you know.
Well, that's the story behind the song this week. For the Tennessean and Tennessean.com, Peter McCann, and we're going to hear a little bit of Right Time of the Night.